Okay. So welcome everyone. Welcome to the BEwell Hub Series, a space dedicated to uncovering insights, tackling difficulties and celebrating successes from our life journeys. My name's Gary Marcus Judge, and I'll be your host along with LeeLee Genovese today on the topic of the right way for you to be well. So who is LeeLee Genovese? LeeLee Genovese is an expat coach. Expat coach meaning people who actually go and live abroad out of their country. Okay. Educator and dream doula. She helps individuals navigate personal and professional changes. So this is just a very short introduction to LeeLee. LeeLee, take it away. Just maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're coming from, how you've ended up here with us on this hour together.
Okay. Yeah, first of all, thank you for that introduction, but even more so for this space for us all to come together. As you were saying before we started recording, it's just a beautiful opportunity for people. And I want to honor you first for being here, to give up your time today, to want to connect with people or to learn something or collaborate. Like, all these things are such beautiful desires, and you've made the space for that today, and showing up is already, I think, I love celebrating and something to celebrate. So I'm glad we're all here together. And that's kind of me. I love that kind of thing and connecting with people. So that's why I'm here. I am an expat coach. I've spent more than 20 years in different countries. Hopefully going to bring in a little bit of the elements of things I've learned into today's conversation. But I don't want it to be about me. I really am here to have a conversation and collaborate and just get started. But I think since we're in a Be Well environment, like business and entrepreneurship, I don't know everybody in here, David and Stephen, that well and what you do necessarily. But I think we can all relate to this way I want to start our conversation. And it's one of my favorite inspirational quotes that really helped me, and I keep coming back to when I'm working on my own entrepreneurial journey. So I don't know if you know James Clear, but he's the Atomic Habits writer of the book Atomic Habits. And he has this quote. I've told Gary this before because I love it so much. And it's entrepreneurship is a personal growth engine disguised as a business pursuit. Entrepreneurship is a personal growth engine disguised as a business pursuit. And I wanted to start considering this today because of the topic and this intersection of personal well-being and business. And I keep coming back to this. I think it's important to know yourself and to be on this personal growth journey. And literally all the things just before getting on, we were talking about it, like this growth and like coming together and comparing our experiences. That's kind of what I want this to look like today. And also with this idea of, what has your journey been like? Because we're all going through this personal growth journey and just showing up in a different way, or pushing past comfort zones, or creating something, or building competencies or skills and making these decisions, and then ultimately figuring out like what are the things that we resist in all of those creations and the doubts and worries that come up. Like, it's constantly there, like that personal growth journey and the business. It's inescapable, and I think a beautiful thing, also sometimes the most frustrating thing, but also that's why we're in it. We're trying to create and grow. So I'm wondering for you, when reflecting on your own journey, do you have any personal development strategies that you have that maybe are the greatest impact that have been for you on your ability to pursue both your business and your life, that helps you balance the both? Is there something that you have or you do typically?
Is that question is it out to everyone? Is it to David or to Stephen, to Gary?
Do you have a practice that helps, like, maybe in a sense, just to give it a word, ground you, help you come back to intention, helps you balance everything? Because like the quote says, it's like a constant journey when we work with all these things, whatever you're creating, building, people you're meeting. Yes, Stephen?
So,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Stephen.
So, for myself, it's interesting because when I had my business, I wasn't on that emotional maturity or self-development phase yet. And I was always surprised because once you put on the title of owner or boss, everyone turns to you for the answer, and you tend to not have the answer. It's like you have to you make it up on the fly. But when you own the company, someone has to answer it, right? So you have to figure it out, and you just figure out what you need to do. And so what I found is I actually was practicing some of the skills of self-development without even realizing it. And as I went through life, I actually honed those skills so that if I go back into that entrepreneurial space, I'll be much more effective. But it's for me, the one practice that I do is reframing. So I take what is going on in a way where it's either helpful or meaningful or something I can learn from, because it supports all of those other things that come along with business, which is resilience, risk-taking, adaptability. You want to have a vision for what you want to create, be a good problem solver, having self-discipline, all of those things. And you have to be kind of creative in this whole journey. So for myself, I really bring it back to that one key thing is, okay, something bad just happened. How can I reframe it? How can I be resilient? And how can I move back into that energetic creation space without letting it drain my energy and pull me down? So that's what I do.
Thank you. I really, really love that, Stephen. I'm not going to say anything about that yet because I want to say something about it in a second. But does anybody else have anything?
Well, I'm working on a book. I almost had it done, but I had a couple of graphs I needed to fix because I needed to make it fit a different size of book. And I had problems because Microsoft, upgraded their Word software, and it messed up my stuff. And so I got it where it's almost fixed again, and they had another upgrade and it messed it up again. So I was fighting those little battles at the same time. As far as balance, I survived the explosion of a B-52, and so my balance is way off. But hey, I learned a lot of experience from my Air Force experience, and so I apply that when I work with people. Some people have problems, and I can use my example not as an excuse, which a lot of people try to use those kind of things as an excuse, but I use my example as, you can overcome this, you can do this, and that's what empowers me.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Thank you.
I think when when I became an entrepreneur, I didn't realize that I had characteristics that really align with being an entrepreneur. For example, one of them was I'm a risk taker. Now, I didn't know that. I mean, it wasn't something that I had actually written down and said I'm a risk taker. I didn't. It was just something I prefer to go down paths that I hadn't trodden on before. So if you gave me two this path on the left, I know where that's going, and the one on the right, I don't know where that's going. I'd probably take the one on the right. And I'll make a mistake. I suddenly find it's blocked, and then come all the way back, but come back. And that's what I would do. It was like some sort of enjoyment, some sort of masochist, I don't know, but I would do the things that really hurt me or that actually challenged me. Now, when I became the owner, for me, I didn't consider myself boss, as David likes to talk about the boss. I mean, people started calling me a boss, and I was really a little bit sort of put out by that, because I didn't want to be a boss. I just was just one of them. But I also found that people need a boss. So sometimes you can't get away with it. I couldn't get away with not being called the boss. Some people had to call me that. And it was like a hat that they had to hang on me. And then whether that was because I then had the responsibility, or then I had to come up with the wise words or take action or whatever it was. So, risk taking, being nominated as a boss, responsibility came naturally to me. But it was something that I didn't know. It was like I didn't know I had those qualities. So sometimes qualities come up when you don't know. It's just part of you.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I love all of these, and just look at how different all of them are. this is going to play a role into the concept I want to bring up later. I just think it's so valuable to realize there's so many ways to find whatever you're looking for, the balance, like your different skills, the things you're good at or not. Also, Gary, even just being like aware of what that is. Sometimes people don't have that awareness, or even the gumption to go after it, or there's a fear that can stop them. So there's so many things coming through my mind right now that are just so valuable, but each of you have things that work for you, or things you're playing with, or things you're questioning of what could work for you. And I think that's so valuable to just be in that journey of being willing to listen to the fear, or to listen to like, okay, what works? What do my people need? What role do I need to play, etc. That was a little tangent, but you guys inspired me with lots of interesting things, so thank you. But with that, I want to invite you to do a very brief activity that is something maybe you don't like, maybe you don't do, maybe it's not helpful, but it's just a very, very short thing to set the tone, set the intention of today. And I want to preface this with an intention for you to get what you came for. And I love, love, love what Stephen said, because this is the point I want to make here, is that no matter where you show up, whether you're in a meeting and you have very difficult people to work with, or it's just maybe you think it's a waste of time, or I could be doing something better. We're in situations all the time that are not comfortable, or we seem that are pointless. I'm sure we've all thought of things, been in that experience, right? Where like, what is this doing for me? So I think it's so important, because I learned this lesson, like Stephen was saying, that is so valuable to show up and get what I came for, no matter what's in front of me. And I made a really bad investment when I started my business, because I was like feeling uncertain and I just wanted support. And I spent $8,000 to get this support from a person, and it ended up being a marriage without divorce. They wouldn't let me out, and I just felt really bad about it. And it felt really, I could talk about how I was taking it, and that's not the point. The point is that I went through it. I didn't find much value, partly because of the mindset I was in at the time. If I had been the person I am now and taken on that, maybe it wasn't like the best thing for me, but I would have gotten so much more value. Still, in retrospect, being the person I am now, I think we can all mine things for value, things that we've already experienced, or situations we've been in and we think it went badly. How can I learn from this? How can I get something out of this? And I think that's what Stephen said. That is such a great skill to come back to show up with intention wherever you are and get something from it. I also think just another example that is really helpful to me as a coach, and I have consult calls, and people say no, that's just a reality in life. And a lot of people I work with, they struggle with that. And yes, I do too sometimes, and I did before a lot more, but I actually get more out of no's than I get from yeses. And I go in and I evaluate, and I find at least the value of what I would have charged my client in the no process. Like, I'm always looking for like what value is in these things, and I'm going to get it more often. Of course, it's a struggle sometimes, but I think it's so valuable. So I'm not saying today is not going to be valuable with this intro, but maybe this invitation is not something you do, and you don't have to do this, but I just wanted to start with like a quick focus invitation to set the intention of what else we'll be talking about today. Is that all right?
Yeah, brilliant.
All right,
Brilliant.
thank you. So I am a coach, and oftentimes I do a lot of mindsets work and breathing, and this is just very simple. I want to invite you to just stretch yourself out and feel comfortable wherever you are, however you are, and take a deep breath, maybe the deepest breath you've taken all day. And just feel comfortable and close your eyes if you're okay doing so. And let's just take a moment and settle in and notice how we are feeling right now. How are you feeling right now? For example, I'm feeling really energized, a little nervous, but very excited. And just notice how you're feeling right now for a few moments. Keep on breathing. And after that, you can bring your mind to something, anything at all that comes up for you that you are grateful for right now. And really enjoy thinking about that thing that you are grateful for. Fabulous. Now turn your attention to what brought you here today. And what are you going to be discussing with us, no matter what comes up? Make it your intention to show up and get value no matter what. The more you show up to places in life with intention and finding value, that is what you get. Excellent. So now I'm going to open my eyes and you can come back and join me. How was that for you?
The word powerful comes up to me. Powerful. I think what you say is really resonates. Those words. It's true. When we show up, you know, we open ourselves, we open doors, we open possibilities, and so on. I mean, we were just talking before we went on the recording about this BEwell. It was just showing up and not knowing as well, not knowing what's happening and who's going to turn up and what we're going to talk about, and anything value is going to come of this? Yes, no, but I think just it's putting a smile on your face and just being there, just being consistent. I think that's the important thing, is being consistent. Because if I say 60 videos, if I thought about it a year ago, I wouldn't have said no way. I would have got bored. Something would have happened during the year. But no, I mean, even today, I've had a pretty full-on day today. We're doing other stuff. But I was there at like 4:30. I was saying, okay, no, everything's out the way. Here I am. 5 to 6 p.m. CET, BEwell. People are going to be here. Whoever's going to be here. Maybe Steve, David, LeeLee, and Arnella's on there as well. And I said, right, we'll just spend an enjoyable hour together. That's all. I think, you know, not so high expectations. I'm just here just to share the space, share the positive energy from you guys.
Thank you. Beautiful. Okay, yeah. So thank you for doing that. I don't know what the experience was like necessarily for everyone, and I'd love to go into that, but I'd really like to move on and just look at this practice and the practices you guys talked about, and knowing that there is no perfect practice. There's not one practice that is going to be the thing that is the right way for you. And I just believe so strongly, and it's been so supportive for me in my business, that even though it sounds like you have and you know yourself to quite an extent, I think we can always come back to, okay, is this working for me, whatever I'm doing, or do I need to play a little bit in different areas of my life to find some way of setting the intention like this, or creating space and stillness so that I can have some calm in my busy day, or whatever you're working on, whether that be with goal setting, like daily, monthly, quarterly, whatever it is, a reset in your day when maybe you've been in like a really busy streak or uncomfortable situation. Before you do deep work sessions, I find this very valuable too. Not doing it all the time, but finding a space in your day where you can do this for 10 seconds to a minute, something to this sort. Also, I think it's really important to set the tone before meetings or before conversations. And that's not just business, it's any conversation. I do this with my husband. If I come home from work and I just need the 10 minutes, I need to clear my head and like put my other cap on. I'm the wife hat now or whatever, just having some intentional activity to set the intention for the relationship, whether you're in a relationship with an entrepreneur, a leader, a manager. So we could do a masterclass on this idea alone, I think, on the benefits of this and finding what works for you. But the thing I wanted to talk about is finding your own wisdom and learning to trust your own wisdom in playing with the things that might work for you if you don't have something already. That most importantly, you can help create and set intentions for.
Yeah.
So
you know what you were saying there, LeeLee. I think it's a very important point, a very important question, even as coaches. It's something that we don't ask. It's, what's my position? What's my role in this conversation? It's something that we don't ask because we take it for granted. I mean, you've come to me, I'm a coach, but sometimes, or you know, you're my wife, I'm the husband, and but sometimes it's not like that. It's like asking, so, you know, with my wife, for example, we're having a conversation and she's just going full on venting. And I'm just saying to her, and then I'll interrupt and I'll make a mistake, obviously, because I'll just give her some advice that you're not supposed to, or you'll make a comparison or whatever it is. But she doesn't want that. She just wants someone just to listen so she can just vent and just, and so the question is, listen, Yeah, of course I could listen to you. I have time, but what would you, what do you want me to be? Am I a friend? Am I a husband? Am I what do you want me to be in this conversation? She might just say, I just want you, just don't do anything. Just be a wall. Okay.
Oh, that is so, I'm like freaking out inside happy because that is so important, like what you say there, and just you having the intention, because I think a lot of people can miss that, especially when we're heightened in emotion or tired from our day, that we miss like, okay, taking 10 seconds saying, what is this conversation I'm going into? Or even in the middle when something heated starts and maybe other people are involved and you can't control like what's happening, just taking a step back and like, okay, what is my role here? And all the things you just said, remembering that place and the intent is so valuable, and it doesn't have to take a long time, but I think
Yeah.
it's, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, again, I want to emphasize there's no right, perfect way. I think that we can get stuck thinking there's the right way to do it because we learn from others and or whatever. I think it's just more about all the how's work. There's something that comes back to me so often, like, how do I do it? All the work, the how's work. And it's about coming back to being curious about yourself, getting to know yourself, being creative and playing with these possibilities of how these could work. Because we could literally, again, like find so many ways to have an intentional practice or create space for stillness and such. Anyways, so I think just a lot of people can get stuck there in the how, and it stops them from moving forward. So think about it for yourself in business, in entrepreneurship, in the journey that we are on as humans. How often has this come up? Like being stuck in the how, like, how do I do this? Like, how do I have an intentional practice? How do I, anything how in your business? And we'll talk about that a little more in depth throughout, but I imagine all of us have been in situations where we find ourselves thinking like, how, maybe pulling our hair out. I don't know how you react to that, or at least feeling like that. Oh, sorry. You're funny, Stephen. Another story for me, when I was starting my business, and really all throughout, this stuff comes up. It's like, focus, what do I focus on? There's so many things I could be doing. Where do I start? What do I start with? What do I create? How do I do this? Like every angle, there's something. So these thoughts can come up. But what's helped me the most, and I think this is, I kind of want to say is everything for me. I mean, coming back to this is everything, is the what and the why, right? The intention is the what and the why, kind of like Simon Sinek. I mean, if you haven't read his book, Start With Why. You don't need to, because the answer is in the title. It's probably a great book. I actually never read it because I really do believe that. Simon Sinek's awesome. But the what and the why is the intention. Like, what is the reason you started this in the first place? Like, what is the thing that you want to create in the world? What's the impact you want to make? And what is that thing that you want to create to do that? And coming back to the reasons and your passion and all the things that motivate you to being where you're at and showing up the way you are, like all the power is in that. It feels so great to say that. I hope you can feel my energy, but the power is there. And I forget that too. So I thought it was valuable to come to you today to remind you, and myself, always doing that, reminding myself, because it's not something that every new thing we experience has the same questions in a different way, I feel. But when we're thinking about the how, we feel uncertain. We feel uncertain, and then with the uncertainty comes the fears and the doubts and the questioning, and the worst case, and this has popped up for me and other people I've worked with, maybe I'm not cut out for it. Maybe this is just not for me. Like thinking of like, this isn't what I should be doing. So I want to just emphasize remembering, and what helps for me is the reasons come first, coming back to the what and the why. The reasons come first, and then the answers come later. So.
Yeah, I think it's just being honest with yourself as well, asking, what do I really want? I mean, as an entrepreneur, I just bring my experience to the table, because I mean, I've been running this language school for 25 years. And after 25 years, I'm coming to a point now where I'm asking myself, is this still part of my project? So this is the question that I'm coming to, because after 25 years, I'm just finding that maybe this is not that it was my project, and it was what I wanted, and it was actually helped me to grow, and it moved me, kept me 25 years in Italy and some great connections, and it gave me a very respectable job, moving in certain circles and so on. But now I've come to a point, I'm asking the question, but have you outgrown this? You know, it's the kind of question you come to as well after a long time. And where are you going? What is this? Is this baby coming with you, or you have to leave it behind? It's the question. This is what I'm going through in the last few months, because I'm going to have to make some big decisions before 2025. And one of the decisions is, have I outgrown this space? And if I have outgrown this space of this business, of course I'll not, you know. And then you go into those things about the fear factor of losing your labels, you know, the things that you've been attached to for all that period, and then suddenly they're taken. Who will I be? I'll be no one. I'll be lost. And who will recognize me? And maybe I'll just be put into a cupboard and forgotten and close the door. You know, all those thoughts that come along with you as well. So I think that's the entrepreneurial journey too, as you come towards a certain point where you realize that maybe the next step means leaving something behind and leaving people behind too, because you're moving on to something else. I don't know, Stephen, David, I don't know, LeeLee, are you able to sort of resonate with what I'm saying here when you've come to a certain point where you have to leave things behind, not because of, it's because you've outgrown them.
Yeah. I've done engineering management my whole life. I did it in the Air Force. I did it after the Air Force, all that kind of stuff. And I got to one point where I was with an oil company here in Texas, and I did a lot of corporate key business objectives, and very successfully and everything like that. And one of them that I did, I took over because I hadn't been done for the last 3 years, and I got it accomplished in 3 months. During that 3 months, my boss never noticed that I had my office cleaned out completely, except for the office furniture that was provided. And he ended up firing me. The reason he ended up firing me is because I got the project that he had for the last 3 years that he didn't get done on a corporate level, and I got it done in 3 months. And so I thought, well, do I really want to do any more of this engineering management or anything like that? What is going to do? Then I read a Harvard Business Review article on servant leadership. I said, that's what I've been doing my whole life. And so that's when I decided I'm going to start my own consulting company. And, you know, so sometimes you have to open your own windows sometimes and get things going.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, David.
It's really good here, and I have to tell you, LeeLee, that when we did the meditation earlier and you're talking about gratitude, I was grateful for you because you have such lovely energy and positivity. It makes such that is always nice to bring to the space because it elevates everything. So what I found when you were talking about this, Gary, this idea of letting things go, I think that's huge in that entrepreneurial space, because if you don't let certain things go, if you don't move beyond them and maneuver around the path, it'll actually sink you, because you start, you know, ruminating about the things that go wrong, and that'll lead you to be less of a risk taker, which is actually the very thing that got you in the business that made you successful. And so you have to be careful with that. And so the biggest thing that I found is it's growing, and it's all the things that we're talking about are skills. And one of the biggest things that we learn is this skill of choice. It's choosing. It's being an active, intentional chooser to be able to choose. Okay. And even if you choose the wrong thing, it's that idea that, okay, what did I learn from this, and move on, because that's one of the things that I think that's the biggest thing that we can do in business and in entrepreneurship is make a choice and stand by that, and then move forward. So that's what I would take forward from this is becoming better at your skill set. And one of those is actively choosing, you know, your path forward.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And remembering, like Stephen said, your abilities, your skill set you already have of being a risk taker, and knowing that you're capable of doing that. And that's what I think I got from you. And let me know if I'm wrong. Like, this is still a how thing. I mean, of course, you're not sure what's next, but you have this like gut feeling or whatever it is for you that something needs to change and shift. Knowing you are very capable of taking the risk of diving in, like Stephen said, and trying different things, not knowing if that's going to be the right thing. But I think the how of it I don't know, it might be stopping you from, you're like, how do I do this? Because this is me, this is my identity over here. I don't know what I'm going towards yet, but just playing with it and trying different things. I don't know, it sounds like you've thought about it a lot. You have ideas.
Yeah. It's also the people along your journey, LeeLee. I mean, that's the thing as well. When you're running a business and you've got other people involved. I
Right.
mean, when you're on your own and you take the risk and and it goes wrong, it's okay. You just adjust and you move on. But it's the emotional attachment. It's the attachment to the people that have been on the journey as well. It's that's still tugging me behind. And I know inside of me, and I know from my heart, but my head says I've got to move on. I've got to move to a new place. That's where I'm going, in that direction. But I'm looking back every so often, every so often with the nostalgic look, which is like, I don't know, and it's not right. I know, as an entrepreneur, as a professional, you shouldn't be attached. You shouldn't get attached to that, but you do, because you invest a lot of, you invest yourself in a business completely. It's got to be all or nothing. And so, but it also comes to a point where you understand that you're not giving all or nothing. And so you're not being yourself. I'm not being myself. I haven't been myself for the last, I don't know, last couple of years, really. And so it's time to move on. And so as an entrepreneur, I think that's an awareness trip as well.
Yeah, it's something that came up so in my personal development space, as kind of the self-awareness space, I kind of talk about shifting this question of, okay, why did this happen, to what am I feeling? Because, if you have a valid reason why something happened in your personal space, you can get stuck in the reminiscing loop of reinforcing the same feelings. And so what you're talking about with entrepreneurial space is, how do you do this, or how to move forward? I think it's actually a better question, because in my experience, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have the answer. And so I actually moved into that space of what again. It's like, okay, what will work? And so it's this idea that you don't have to know how you don't have to know the how, but you're in this creative space. You just start trying things until you find something that works, or you reach out and find somebody that has done it and get some advice or some counseling or some mentoring or whatever. But it's it's difficult, especially me being an engineer and having a very process driven mind. Not knowing the answer, I would get stuck in that loop of trying to figure it out. And if you don't know how, that can be a very exhausting process to try to explore. But trying different things and just saying, okay, well, let's just see how this works. What can we try? That's just something that came up.
I love that. Thank you, Stephen. I have so many tangents. I wish I could dive in with you, Gary, on this, because that would be so fun. And if you ever want to talk about it, let's just have a whole day figuring out your future. Next week. I'm sure it'll be fine, but playing with it. And hopefully today, what we're sharing with David and Stephen, wonderful insights, but also I love the idea of trying and then playing with it, because there's a lot of emotion with all the people that you love and respect and have worked and built this with. It's hard. It is. But yes, I feel like there's a lot of how wrapped up in that also stops you and makes you worry more, if I'm bold enough to just say it. But coming back,
when you do close a chapter in your life, because it is a chapter in your life, an entrepreneurial, it's a journey that you brought a lot of people on the journey. So I started on my own, but a lot of people have come along on the journey, on the path, dropped off, continued, and all that kind of stuff in 25 years. But you do come, and there's a lot of awareness. There's a lot of awareness, identity, as Stephen says as well. You are identified by that. People didn't know who I was. They've seen me in the street. They wouldn't say, "Oh, look, there's Gary." They would say, "Oh, look at the guy. That's the owner of the whatever school." They wouldn't know who I was. And so I'd be invited to somewhere, to, I don't know, a meeting, whatever, not as Gary, but as the owner of this, of whatever. So after a while, you take that away, and not scary, because I'm ready. I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going. It's just that It's all the intricacies, all the months it's going to take to close all the taps. Like, you know,
Yeah.
just imagine closing, closing the tap of the rent of the premises, closing the taps of the contracts of the teachers.
You should
Closing,
have music along with it, like a little playlist.
you go around closing all those taps.
And you gotta get the right things on in the heels and on the front of your shoes to tap well.
Yes, that'll help. Make it fun, at least. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm feeling what you're putting out there. That sounds funny, but I'm thinking of you as you go through this journey of closing all the taps, and it's not a small thing. So,
No.
but I'm glad you're here to talk about it too, and hopefully find some insight from being in this group that you've created, and maybe some of those people that you've taken along in this journey you've been on creating the school and everything. Maybe there's a person in there that can turn the taps and keep it going. I'm not sure.
But even along with the topic of the conversation today was, the right way for you to be well. That was the topic. The right way for you to be well. So I think, leading into that, the right way to be well for yourself, but the right way to do things, the right way to close a business, the right way to respect yourself, but respect others. There's an awareness that the right way.
Tell me what you mean by that.
I don't know. I mean, like the right is there's a right way to go out with your head up. And I'm not a failure. I'm not considering myself a failure. It's just that the project has moved on, and this is not I'm not aligned to this project anymore. So the right way to go out of here would be to go out with my head held high, and saying, okay, I'm moving on. I don't know if that's the right, is that, can someone see that or not?
Can I stop you there? Because this is like literally the point I am trying to make in what you just said. How does that feel for you? It sounds like something that seems like, because I don't think we can tell you the right way. This is arguable because there are so many nuances, but everything that there's so many things in my head right now, but learning to trust yourself is the most powerful thing that you could do, because there are so many ways, but all the ways are right for certain people. My right way might not be right for you, but it might work for me, or it might work for Stephen or whoever. And like, yes, talking to people, getting advice and all that, but the point is really just you coming back to yourself and learning to trust yourself. Can I share one thing that, like, after living in Japan, there's this this tool. It's kind of like mastering, what is it? They call it like the route to mastery. It's called shuhari. Shuhari is basically the kanji shu. It means like you're building off the shoulders of giants, or you're learning the fundamentals, or in your case, it might just be, this is the way that works for others who have done the same thing. And that could be very, very powerful and useful, and it might definitely work. So definitely learn that, think about it, and then swish it around and see what might work for you. But the ha in shuhari is like where you're learning to detach from like the master's knowledge and the fundamentals, while carrying the fundamentals and the ideas of what does work for typically everyone too. But you are understanding for yourself what would work in your life, in what you want going forward. And you're still having a mesh of like your master and finding yourself. And then the ri in shuhari is like the separation, like maybe in the sense you're separating from all the beautiful people you've been in this with, and who have supported you and who have ideas, but you are the master, and learning to be the master of yourself. And with all the wisdom that came before, deciding like what is best for you. I think we all know like the only person that can really answer that question is ourselves, even though it's nice to get other ideas, but you coming back to like, what does Gary want? I don't know, what comes up for you when you hear that concept for like finding the right way for Gary or for you two?
But what also comes up is sometimes is like people don't see what they don't want to see, if that makes sense. People don't see. They don't see the obvious. Because they don't want to see it.
Yeah.
Are you?
Sometimes sometimes it's so obvious that but people don't want to see it. and they'll ignore it, they'll go around it, they'll put it to one side, they'll postpone it, but they won't see it. And as you were saying before, you can tell people and you can try to explain it to them, but they can't see it because they I don't know what whether they don't want to see it, or they don't they're not able to see it, but they can't see what you're saying, the truth. And does that make sense? I mean, David,
Yeah.
you're nodding your head. David, tell me something.
Yeah, I think it's I don't want to see it. That's what it is, really.
I don't want to see it.
Yeah, that's I think that's what people tell themselves. They tell themselves if I don't want to see it, then it really didn't happen.
This is very broad. Can we give an example? Are we talking about literally the decision you're making? You don't want to see it, or what do you
No,
mean?
not me. I mean, I see that with other people. If they don't want to hear something, if they don't want to learn about something, it's like, no, it's not real.
Ooh, this is
Yeah, it's
interesting.
scary. But
This is interesting.
it's like politics in America. Politics in America is screwed up.
That's it. Look at that.
I hear you.
So what I found is there's an interesting mechanism that our minds have, and one it's a filtering mechanism. So if something doesn't fit into a nice, neatly contained space within our brain, then we have to either create work to create a new category, or to actually disassemble what it is that we believe and make something else fit. So we're constantly going through this process of looking and trying to understand what's going on in the world around us. And what's strange is there's so many beliefs that we carry forward that are based upon patterning or our life experience. And people very rarely realize that other people have completely different life experiences or completely patterning. So when something comes in that's different than what they experience, and you'll see this quite often when someone is highly in the cognitive frame of perceiving life versus someone that might be more on the emotional scale, they'll see this person as mean, and it's like the other person's going, I'm just trying to get business done, right? Why are you so emotional? So there's this disconnect that happens in that space. But the thing is there is a space for connection there. It's like it's the best place to be would be actually a combined of both of those, where you're bringing in the emotion, the perception, the intuitive mind, the thought, all of that. But I have seen people, if something challenges their values, they'll either get upset or they will actually reject it completely. So it's if it's something that challenges a core belief or a value, something that will shake their world, and a lot of times their position or their job is a big part of their identity. If you're criticizing maybe the way that they're doing their work, some people will actually get withdrawn and reject that. But the thing is you might be trying to help them. And so all of this kind of goes together in it's that immediacy of just reading what people, how their body language is. You can tell when people close you off. And so, that idea is I would just ask about it. It looks like you're drifting off. Is there what's going on?
Oh, I love this so much because thank you all for sharing your perspectives and the examples. Like that's kind of perfect for what we're talking about with this right way. Like being an entrepreneur, an expat for typically being a coach for expats, typically this really plays a role in what we're talking about with conversation and what you're saying, Stephen, with getting to know people and just asking about it. So powerful, like, because I think part of the reason for expats, and it's actually everyone, like they come into situations that are difficult because it's a cultural shock. It's very different. It's the same thing if we're in the office and we run into somebody who does something we don't expect. So it's these expectations that create like the right way, like my way is the right way. And then I'm closed down to seeing like, okay, I'm an individual, they're an individual. We all have our right way. How can we come together and understand ourselves and them and what they think is right? And then create a path forward with the combination of the two. But so many things, I think if we learn this skill of like stepping back, like, okay, this is what my expectation was, but it's going to go all different. We all know that too, right? That it's going to go different all the time. So I'm sorry, this is such a fun conversation. Thank you.
But sometimes as a leader or as an entrepreneur or as the
Yeah.
owner or as the boss or whatever the title that you've had, is you've had to make decisions and people have followed you. When you come to a certain point where you have to make a decision of a closure of a company, people are scared now. They're thinking, oh, what's happening now? The decision, it's not going forward, but it's going where? We don't know. And so that also brings another factor to the conversation. And then people, as Stephen said, sometimes they just don't see it because it's not in their pattern of the way they are, what they're thinking. It is because the entrepreneur is actually forward thinking because they're saying what's coming up, where are we going, what's the direction, what's next.
Yes.
Whereas you've got the employees who are just following, or the followers are just operating on doing the tasks, whereas the person at the head should be
Yeah.
looking way ahead. And so so some people don't see it because maybe they're just not used to seeing that far ahead. They're not.
This is such a hard conversation because we can't change all those people, especially in politics. Like I can't make people come back to love and not need to be greedy and have all the money, whatever the thing is. But all we can do is we have to go first. That's all I think. Tell me what you think. We have to go first. Because if we're both like, okay, they're not going to understand it. And I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but if they're not going to understand it, they don't know how to do this. They don't have these skills, then what do? I don't know. Like either we go first and we do it, and then there's so many things that I've shifted in myself and I see so many people do it, then I'm asking myself, why bother? But if I stop too, then what are we going to get? Where are we going to go? Like, I mean, the whole Gandhi, be the change you wish to see in the world, it seems so big, but also for the longest time, I couldn't find like, how can I do that? Because I can't change the world. But I think you being the leader that you are, as great as I'm sure you have been, like, just leading with that too. I know that there's that resistance because you can't change people, and it's like, nah, your wish is one of the hardest things for me. I wish I could, yeah.
What,
But
I'm going to share something, LeeLee, and it's the idea is that there's a little bit different perception on that, and it's something I struggled with. But the moment that you change the perception for one individual, you've changed the way that they've seen the world. So you actually have changed the world for them. So we do change the world, but we change it one person at a time, right? Working with them, one perception, and it's not everybody, it's not everybody you talk to is actually going to resonate with the message, but it's creating that possibility of hope or that something can be different. And once you connect with that, then they may actually find a different way. They may use your way or they may find a different way, but it's that idea that the moment you help them see the world a different way, then the world is different for them. You've actually have changed the world for them.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah, Gary, one thing for you is the reason I keep coming back is because you care about people. That is big in your heart. It shines like crazy. And, so it's one thing to really care about people. It's also looking at other options, if you will, on how to expand on that too. And so, I just absolutely love you for it. I think you do a fantastic job on all that stuff. But at the same time, I think you're going to continue to do that because that's something that's in your heart. Whatever your path forward may be, you're going to still think about people. Me, the reason I decided to do what I did, and the book, you don't know about my book. My book is called The Rise of the Anti-Boss.
Oh.
Okay? And I have a follow-up book too, you might be interested in, The Rise of the Anti-Politician. But anyway, the whole thing is how we can inspire other people, okay? And there's multiple ways to inspire people. And people need different sources of inspiration for different things that they're doing. And that's what you do, Gary. You inspire people. So whatever media or whatever you're going to do out there, go do it. You know, because you're very loved and you're going to be very loved at whatever you do. Just continue inspiring people. Know in your heart that people do care about you because you care about them.
Thank you, David. Lovely words. This is going back to, you know, doing things the right way. Back to our topic, you know, being what was the topic? The title was the right way for you to be well. That was the topic of our conversation. And I think the right way is being in line with yourself and doing the right things, and people see it. At the end of the day, when I think the business will close, but if I do it in the right way, for people will understand. It's got to be the right way. It's got to be the next step on the journey. And also, like, whatever you do, as even Stephen said before, it's you can't change the world, but you can change someone's perspective of the world. So when people see you doing things in the right way, they say, "Oh, okay, the guys did it in the right way." And they can copy me, or they can actually admire me, or whatever it is, but you've done it the right way. I think this is what we're talking about today in today's Be Well.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that's the way I want to go out, doing it the right way. And then going out doesn't mean dying. Doesn't mean be like tomorrow I'm just gonna drop dead. I hope not, but it could happen. But the you know, it's the next step on my journey to other stuff, to the next step. Stephen?
I was going to say, it's interesting that you used the word dying, because right before you said that, I was thinking that when you close a company, it's very much akin to the grief process, right? Because you're losing something that people have part of their life for a long time. And so when you mentioned the word dying, it goes back to this whole grieving process. It's when something ends, there's a grieving process, and everyone grieves differently. So it's like, even if people are angry, all of that's part of this grieving process. It's not personal. It's all just related to the fact that's how they're processing the feelings of loss. And so with that, it's like, you know, how can you just be there and find out what they need, right? So a friend of mine said, just find out what the person needs, and whether they need to be listened to, or whether they need space, whether they need a hug, whatever they need in that moment. Say, well, you know, can I give that to you, or, you know, or do you want me to just go away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had wells in our family, so I'm fine.
It is a grieving process. It is something that, you know, you inspire people. You have an idea, you transfer that idea from your head into other people's head. You inspire them, you motivate them, you stay with them, share the journey, the pain, the losses, the wins, and so on, all along, the rewarding and the moments when things are really tough. You go through it together, and you share births and deaths and holidays and Christmas, and all of that all together becomes a big journey. And so, of course, it's when you close something, a business like that, but it's also, you know, it's like, I feel really grateful as well, because it's given me a whole new perspective on entrepreneurship. So if I do close the journey, I will be able to take people on the journey from startup to running the business to closing the business. So I will have something that I will be able to share with other people along the way, because I've been through the process. So I'm really grateful for that. But listen, we're coming to the end. This has been a great conversation. We're coming to the end. It's 6 p.m. my time. It's on the hour. LeeLee, thank you very much. Full of energy, bundle of energy you are. Please come again. Stephen, thank you for your insights. David, for sharing your journey as well. Next week, we've got Christopher Ewald coming on, and he's going to be talking about reframing loss. Reframing loss.
Perfect.
And he's been through a bankruptcy. He's lost his mother. He has had his house on fire, and he's had so many different interesting, so many different episodes along the way that he wants to share with us. And so he wants to reframe loss, as you said, Stephen, as well, you know, always try and extract the best you can from every situation. So thank you, Stephen. Thank you, David. LeeLee, thank you very much, and hope to see you next week.
Yep. Y'all have a great day
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Here you
Bye-bye.
go.
or evening.
Or day, or week.
Bye.